All right, but let's jump into our rankings from 20 to 11. Starting off at 20, we have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope of the Los Angeles Lakers. Then at 19, we have Josh Richardson of the Miami Heat. Then at 18, we have Kent Bazemore from the Atlanta Hawks. And at 17, we have Evan Fournier of the Orlando Magic. At 16, we have Zach LaVine of the Chicago Bulls. And at 15, we have Andrew Wiggins of the Minnesota Timberwolves. At 14, we have Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavs. At 13, we have J.J. Redick of the Philadelphia 76ers. Then at 12, we have Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. And finally, at 11, we have Lou Williams of the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, I want to start off, Ricky, and this isn't really the direction that we're going to take this, but I want to address something. I remember last year we got crapped on for putting Wiggins as a shooting guard and not Jimmy Butler. Yeah. So if you have a problem with it, we're doing it for consistency's sake because Butler was a small forward for us last year. And Wiggins was a shooting guard for the 2 prior years. So we're keeping it that just so we can keep the rankings.
And let's be completely honest. Flip. Jimmy and Wiggins can flip between the 2 and the 3. And
here's the thing. I mean, Jimmy's just going to guard better defenders, and Wiggins is going to have the ball less because they're phasing Wiggins out anyways.
And can I also say it this way, where just off of last year, because I know this is going to change a little bit for this year, in rankings where you have LeBron, Durant, Kawhi, Giannis, Paul George, do you like? I think it's a more interesting conversation to throw Jimmy in that group and let Wiggins be with the 2s rather than because like if Jimmy was with the 2s, he'd be an easy top 10 guy, maybe a top 5 guy for the shooting guards, most likely a top 5 guy for the shooting guards, and it's like okay, not that much of a discussion for me. It's more interesting to have him into discussion with the 3s.
Yeah, I mean, if Jimmy's in there, it's where does he fit with James Harden, Klay Thompson, and Vic?
Yep.
Well, there goes the top 3 spot.
Yeah, basically.
But with Wiggins, though, I mean, we now see that he took a 8 spot drop. I mean, this guy was in our top 10 last year. We probably overrated him a little bit, but that's him coming off of a year where he had a 29% usage. He's getting Jimmy Butler, so we think that his defensive deficiencies are going to be able to be covered. We think that a guy that is this young, putting up 23 points per game on fairly decent percentages, 45% from the field, 35% from 3, and 76% from the line, will be able to take that next step, and especially having Jimmy Butler, who maybe Wiggins can conserve some of that energy on defense and then put it towards offense, he might be able to grow. And one thing that Andrew Wiggins has been throughout his career has been healthy. 82 games his rookie year, 81 the next year, 82 the next year, 82 the next year. He's been on the floor, but we have seen consistently that he has not been able to really mesh out there and find his role. We see last year he's a guy that dropped for 2% on his field goal percentage. He's a guy that dropped 2% on his 3-point percentage. He dropped what was it? I hate doing math on a podcast. Pretty much 6 points per game. And he wasn't able to mesh with Jimmy Butler, and he went from 29 usage to 23. So we didn't see his melding and meshing with Jimmy Butler. Now we see Jimmy Butler being pissed off at Cat, or at least rumors of him being pissed off at Cat and him being pissed off at Wiggins because they're not trying enough. So with Wiggins, what are his expectations? What do you need to see out of this kid? Because former number 1 draft pick, former rookie of the year, was very promising coming out. He showed that scoring ability early, but he kind of plateaued in 2016, 2017. And now the question may be able to be asked is, as long as he's in Minnesota, has he peaked already as a 23-year-old?
Yeah, to me, I'll be completely honest, I would have put Zach LaVine above Wiggins if Zach LaVine was healthier last year. Like, if Zach LaVine was healthy for the entire year, I would have put him above Andrew Wiggins. And for me, the thing I find the most funniest with our rankings, you, Dave, and I all have Wiggins at 16, yet he's 15 in our rankings. Like, we were that much lower. Someone was lower on someone else to where we all consistently have him at 16, yet he's higher than our average for him with them. But, I mean, the thing that I look at is I am basically kind of low on this Timberwolves team, and I think that kind of plays into this as well, as this is a team that in the offseason, I mean, we've kind of seen it already with the rumors with the Cat trade and everything, or the Cat trade rumors. Basically, I look at this and I go, this is a dysfunctional team. And, like, part of me feels like is this more of a question of not necessarily has Wiggins peaked, but is Wiggins just not the right player, or is Thibodeau not the right coach for an Andrew Wiggins?
Well, I think that's extremely apparent. And that's why I say, has he peaked? Because maybe they don't end up
Thibodeau system.
Well, and I'm saying maybe he doesn't end up getting his, not release, but at least his escape from Minnesota and that system. That's why I'm saying he's peaked. Now, does he have the ability to still grow? Yes, but I don't think he has that ability to grow with Thibodeau, with Butler, and with Cat. So that's why I bring that up, because it seems like he did not mesh at all. His usage went down. They stopped going to him, and he wasn't confident in his shot. He was a guy that, really suffered last year. He wasn't a guy that was able to take on a different role. He's a one-dimensional scorer. He's not a great defender. So he's a guy that is not putting on that extra effort in the other end, on the defensive end. He's a guy that's not meshing with the coach. He's not a guy meshing with the guy who ended up being their go-to guy in Jimmy Butler. I have a strong question of, especially after the extension that he signed, maybe he is stuck in Minnesota, which is pretty much a place for hell for him right now, as long as Jimmy Butler and Tom Thibodeau are on that team and in that organization in Minnesota.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a weird thing in the rankings, too, with Wiggins, because, I look at just our combined ones, and it's like the guys who are above him in this segment, Williams, Brown, Redick, Doncic, it's like maybe you could make the argument that we're too high on Luka, and Luka shouldn't be in the top 15. But I look at it and I go, I would not put Andrew Wiggins over any of those four guys in the rankings right now. And hell, like I said, if Zach LaVine was healthy, Wiggins would have been 16 and not 15 in these rankings.
Well, and I feel like the reason why we didn't put Wiggins lower is because he still has a ton of potential. He's only 23 years old.
Exactly.
And as a 21-year-old, he came out and put up 23 points per game. And he's beneficent from the field.
He's still a guy that can shoot, at his best, he can shoot 45 from the field.
He's a guy that can be a very great scorer in the NBA. He can be, I don't think it's too high of praises. He can be a Devin Booker-like scorer out there. I mean, he has that length. He has that ability. He has that attacking ability. He has that ability to shoot. Maybe not to the level of Devin Booker. Booker's more well-rounded offensively, but Andrew Wiggins, early on in his career, was very impressive coming out of the gates. He was a guy that really showed himself to be a possible future star. And then again, he hit that brick wall with Thibodeau and Butler. And that's why I think, at least with the potential, that's why he's not below guys like LaVine, Fournier, Bazemore, Richardson, KCP, because none of those guys were first overall picks. But I would rather have that discussion of where would I put Wiggins, or who would I put Wiggins below rather than above, because I don't really feel comfortable putting him up above Doncic. I'd put LaVine above Doncic and Wiggins. So that's the thing, is I would rather move Wiggins back than move him up.
And the thing is, I wonder if, we're talking him and Thibodeau, I wonder if it's not, we should maybe be focusing on the marriage between him and Butler, because the thing I look at is, why were we so high on Wiggins coming into this past season? Well, you look at the stats, and the biggest increases was he increased his 3-point percentage from 30% to almost 36%, and he upped his points for the year. Now, he stayed about the same in free throw and 2-pointers, but you look at after this season, his 2-point percentages dropped by 20. Same thing for 3-pointers. For free throws, he dropped nearly 12%, shooting 64% from the line this past year, and his point totals went down. Now, the point totals were going to go down because you have Jimmy Butler on this team, but I wonder if that plays into it too, where it's with now Jimmy Butler on this team, with his fit in the T-Wolves, are we going to see a trend like this again, where these percentages not necessarily drop again, but are they going to stay the same here, or are they going to go back up to what we used to see?
It's not the percentages. I want to see more of the fit on the floor, because if the fit's better, then he's going to have more confidence. He's playing alongside Jimmy Butler. He's going to possibly have the ball more, which I think is better for his game.
I think that team is dysfunctional anyways, and that could be playing into it too.
That's the thing, is that's why I want to look at more of the relationship between Thibodeau and Wiggins, because Butler's contract is coming up. They just re-signed Wiggins for a long-term deal. Also, Wiggins is still much younger than Jimmy Butler, and there's no question who's the better player. Jimmy Butler is obviously the better player, but when it comes to having Cat signed up for a long-term deal, having Wiggins signed up for a long-term deal, then trying to add on Jimmy Butler to that team, And having that pair not working, you just might stick with the guys that are already under contract and are much younger. Even though they might be worse players, I don't know about Cat over Butler, but Butler is more well-rounded than Cat is. Cat's a dynamite offensive player, where Butler obviously has shown the two-way game. That's neither here nor there. Just the fact that, again, Cat and Wiggins are so much younger than Butler. Butler might be gone the next year, and then maybe if Butler's gone, Minnesota might realize if they do struggle this year that Thibodeau might not be the guy, and they end up getting rid of him. So Wiggins is a guy that I'm going to very much watch and see his progression and how he possibly ends up trying to fix his relationship with Jimmy Butler, fixes it with Tom Thibodeau, also how Jimmy Butler and Tom Thibodeau fix their relationship with Andrew Wiggins. A lot of healing needs to be done on that Minnesota team. But one guy that I want to talk about, we'll get off Wiggins, we talked about him for 12 minutes there, is obviously Luka Doncic.
Are we too high on him?
Well, a couple guys made their debuts. Lou Williams made his debut at 11. Luka Doncic obviously making his debut being a rookie. Zach LaVine was not on our shooting guard rankings last year because of his injury, and also they had Jimmy Butler and Andrew Wiggins. So I think we ended up putting him as a sixth man. And then Josh Richardson also made his debut as well. But the biggest guy is Luka Doncic, and I don't think we are too high on him because when you guys were gone for VidCon, I came on here saying he's going to be Rookie of the Year, putting up 15, 7, and 7. Now, is that exorbitant? Yes. Is that way too high for a rookie? Yes. But do I think he's able to do that? Yeah. I think this kid, being 19 years old, going and doing what he did in the EuroLeague, is going to be able to transfer to the NBA.
He's got a nice fit, too.
He's got a great fit in a two-guard system with Dennis Smith Jr. Dennis is going to have more open looks, and him having more open looks is going to make teams respect him more.
Having vets like Dirk and DeAndre on the team.
Having DeAndre Jordan to run the pick and roll with is going to be massively important to his growth, Luka Doncic's growth. Having Wesley Matthews on the outside, Harrison Barnes on the outside, Dirk obviously on the outside as well. This is a perfect fit for him. Rick Carlisle seems to love him. Also, looking at Luka, it seems like a perfect fit just in Dallas in general. And I think this is a guy that is going to be probably not the leader because Dirk will still be the leader, but at least bringing up the ball and being a floor general. He's going to be a floor general on here. And I think he's going to fit extremely well in Dallas. And he's a guy that, yeah, he might be very young. He might be a rookie. And I hate rating rookies this highly, but I think massively of this kid. And I think that he's a guy that he's not going to really have that much of a culture change from college to the NBA because he's not doing college to the NBA. He's doing pros to pros.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a big talent jump from EuroLeague
Think more
to NBA.
Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili level than any kid from college.
And again, it's more like Rudy Fernandez or Sergio Rodriguez, and even then, Luka
I'm just
did
saying
more
the
than
ones
those
that
players.
came over from Euro to the NBA.
Yeah, I'm saying those guys were playing in the same league as Luka. That's why. And those guys made the transitions. But again, Luka's did more than Sergio Rodriguez and Rudy Fernandez did over in EuroLeague. So I think that Luka, it might be a little bit of a he might have some bad games here and there, but I think once it hits December, we're going to see the Luka Doncic that we're going to see for the rest of the season. I expect that guy to be a 15, 7, and 7 guy.
I'm kind of upset Dave's not on the podcast, but because I really want to ask him why. Because I thought coming into this he would have Luka the highest out of us, and it's surprising to me that the guy who has bashed Euros and bashed Luka throughout the draft process, has Luka the highest of our personals. I know it's only one spot, but originally, when I was putting everything together, I just slotted him at 11. I'm like, he's not top 10. I'm not going to do the Lonzo Ball treatment with him. But he's different than Lonzo because he's actually played professional basketball at some level. And then I started going through things, and there were guys like, all right, J.J. Redick, all right, Jaylen Brown, all right, Lou Williams. I can't put him above these guys based off of their stats and play. And then I'm like, you know what, for sure, he's not going to fall out of the top 15. And then I looked at everyone under 14, and I was like, you know what, 14's a good spot for him.
Yeah, and also you had LaVine well lower than Dave and I did. Yeah. We had LaVine right above Luka. We both had Luka at 15, LaVine at 14. And again, I mean, we've seen LaVine come into the NBA
for a little bit.
Yeah, but we've seen LaVine come into the NBA, and he's put up 20 points per game. And this is a guy that just got a 4-year, $78 million deal. So not only does he have potential, not only is he going to be seen as one of the guys on this Chicago Bulls team in a lineup that is going to be helpful to him scoring points, which he is really good at. This is also a guy that has massive expectations because you just got paid. Now go and prove it. But Luka, maybe some people will say it's too high. If you think it's too high, it's our opinion. You're very well able to own your own. But I think Luka is a guy that, whether it's in the full court, definitely in the half court with DeAndre Jordan, he's going to be able to dominate on the offensive end. Now, will he struggle defensively? Yes, but he does have elite abilities already. He has elite passing abilities. He has the elite ability to be a leader. And we talked about the Andre Roberson benchmark a little bit earlier. He is elite on one side of the ball, and that is defensively. Luka might be able to prove that he has elite skills. Not elite yet, totally elite. Both consistency, putting it all together, from 3-point range, but at least elite skills like passing, like vision, like body control. If he has those abilities, then I think that's something that's really going to elevate him to that next level. Because Luka, again, we're talking about potential. Roberson does have one elite skill, but also Luka has elite skills and that potential to boot with it. I think that's why we have Luka.
Let me ask you this question. This is going to be getting ahead of myself, but I'm still going to ask it. How many positional rankings do you think we go through before Luka's a top 10 shooting guard in our rankings right now?
Next year.
Is it only 1 year? Because I was almost going to say next year is he a top 10, but I
think maybe not, because the thing that's going to is going to be crucial for next year is going to be, because even right now the shooting guard.
Because I look at our top 10, I'm like, man, those are some good shooting guards.
I don't know who's going to move, but the thing I look at that now is Drew might not be a shooting guard next year. He might be a point guard. That might open up a spot. So that's why we might see Drew Holiday flip out.
True.
And go to a point guard, which might open up a spot in the top 10. But
or
maybe
if CP3 falls out because he's getting old and James goes to the point guard.
But he just signed a long contract, so he's not going to be in the starting. He's going to be in the starting lineup.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying the same thing with Drew. We don't know if CP3 is going to play his full 4 years that he has because he's really old.
But he's going to play the year after.
No. I'm not saying next year. I'm saying within the next 4 years that maybe James Harden could be another one that switches from shooting guard to point guard in our rankings.
And I think that the guy that is probably the most at risk, at least in the top 10, that isn't a guy that's switching positions and going to point guard. No, it's Devin Booker. Because although Devin Booker is a phenomenal scorer, if Luka is able to show any life defensively, he's a better passer than Devin Booker is. He's a better rebounder than Devin Booker is. So if he's able to have the edge passing and rebounding and then also defensively, he might have that gap between scoring, but it's a debate that we're going to have a little bit later between, I think it is, who do we have? I think it was Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker, where, again, Donovan Mitchell is not as good of scorer as Devin Booker is, but Donovan Mitchell's team. Donovan Mitchell's team won, and that's not solely credited to Donovan Mitchell. It's more credited to Utah in general.
Be careful how you talk about those Suns. Z gonna be coming after you. Man.
I'm not trying to trash their team. Again, the Suns have been one of the worst teams in the past 5 years. There's that's a fact.
Yeah,
it's not my opinion that maybe the 76ers might not make the playoffs.
Z is sitting there man, finally one of our guys is in the top 10, and Sean still shits on our team.
I'm just saying again, the edge is so close between these young players. If Devin Booker, again, he's seen as the guy on Phoenix, and Luka's seen as the guy now on Dallas, if one of those teams starts winning more games, and if that team is Luka Doncic and the Mavericks, then maybe there is that discussion where Luka can overtake him. I think next year we're thinking about it. Is it for sure? No. But I think we're at least thinking about Luka, especially if he's able to come in and put 15, 7, and 7 up. Because you know who just did that? Ben Simmons. He's in top 8 of our point guards. So I think that's why I at least throw out next year as the lookout for Luka Doncic. But we talked about Luka. We talked about Andrew Wiggins. Some risers in this section. Jaylen Brown rising 7 spots. J.J. Redick rising 4 spots. We have Evan Fournier rising 4 spots, and Kent Bazemore rising 4 spots.
Were we a little wrong about Jaylen Brown coming into the NBA? That's what I think each and every year, especially me, who was leaning more towards bust than boom for Jaylen Brown.
We get a fair share of crap from our boy Riley and all of our Boston Celtics fans out there.
I was coming out of Cal, I will say, was not high on him, and it was based off of what I had seen at Cal, and it was I am shocked at what I'm seeing from Jaylen Brown in the NBA. It could be also good coaching too.
Well, that's the thing I was going to say. Do I think that some of his success has to deal with Brad Stevens and that Boston environment? I think you can definitely add something onto that because we've seen players leave that. Really, the only player that hasn't left and looked horrible is Kelly Olynyk. But outside of that, Bradley leaves, bad.
Yeah,
IT,
I was going to say
hurt.
Avery Bradley. It's like, ooh.
IT hurt. I mean, like, a lot of these guys leave Boston, and they're not the same players.
Yeah.
However, Jaylen Brown's still in Boston, and Jaylen Brown is still young and growing. And he's a guy that put up 14 points last year. He's a guy that's really good defensively. He's going to be on a really good defensive team that's getting Kyrie Irving fully back, hopefully,
and Gordon Hayward.
Cleaned up, and then obviously Gordon Hayward for a full season. And this is going to be something that's just a boost to Jaylen Brown. And some people might say he's not starting. He might not end up starting because you have Kyrie, you have JT, you have Gordon Hayward, Morris, you have Al Horford. He might not end up in the starting lineup, but we put the five best players that Boston has in their starting lineup, and that is Kyrie, that is Jaylen, that is Jason Tatum, that is Gordon Hayward, and that is Al Horford.
That would be a 6 starting linop, just talent-wise, there.
So, and obviously Brad Stevens is going to tinker with the lineup throughout the year. But Jaylen Brown, we were wrong about. I'm not afraid to admit it. I've been wrong before. I've been right before. I'll boast when I'm right, and I will admit when I'm wrong.
It makes me laugh each year that it's like, wow, entitled to our own opinion, but it was like, man, that was one where I was really off.
And I think my biggest criticism on Jaylen Brown was his work ethic. I did not think that he was going to come into the NBA.
Give him a coach that's going to have no problem whipping that work ethic into shape.
Even then, I mean, you can have all the coaches in the world and still not put it into it. Jaylen Brown deserves credit for becoming the player that he is. Does Brad Stevens deserve some credit? Does Danny Ainge? 100%.
Yeah.
But Jaylen Brown needs to put that work in, and we see him putting that work in. So you got to give credit to Jaylen Brown.
And when I say that is Brad Stevens knows how to work with younger players, especially kids coming out of college, because that's who he was coaching.
Well, yeah, he knows how to work with any player.
Yeah, so that kind of that helps where it's not necessarily. It would be different if he had a coach that's more of an authoritative figure rather than Brad Stevens.
Yeah, but again, the base,
it's a two-way street.
The point of this is just the fact that Jaylen Brown has worked his ass off to get where he is. He's closing in on top 10. And he's a guy that has come in every single year and has grown and grown and grown. Coming into his third year, it's going to be impressive to see what he becomes because this guy's really the limit for the kid. Maybe he's a guy that ends up breaking that mold because Boston's going to have to deal with contracts at some point with these young players. Maybe Jaylen Brown ends up...
Doesn't matter. Kyrie could be gone at the end of the year, and that'll help him out.
We never know. But Jaylen Brown, again, might end up leaving the nest, and he might be able to flourish outside because this kid has the raw talent. He's got length, wingspan. He's got an offensive upside. He's got massive defensive upside. He's a guy that is going to be fun to watch this year, and he's our biggest riser, at least in this section. Not the biggest riser because we still haven't talked about the guy in our top 10 that rose 12 spots. But Jaylen Brown put in a ton of work. He's in a great system, and for that, he deserves that 11 spot. Any other guys in this that we haven't talked about that you want to throw out there?
The last guy I just want to kind of hit is Zach LaVine. And Bulls fans, they probably have already commented that, too low on Zach LaVine. I'll be completely honest for my Bulls fans out there. I had LaVine at 21. Probably way too low on him coming in, but same thing I said about Roberson in the last segment, I'll say about Zach LaVine. Before I put you as high as some think you should be, you got to show me what you're working with off of the injury. Bulls fans are going to say, well, he did show us in those 24 games. I'm not convinced. Show me that you're worth the money. Show me that you're going to be the leader of this Bulls team, and then you'll be higher next year. I'm also very concerned not concerned, that's not the right word. I'm a little bit more down on the Bulls this year than most of the fan base seems to be. So that kind of plays into it as well, where I don't have as high of hopes as I usually do in years past.
I think the biggest thing is not talent for Zach LaVine. It's literally just health. Yeah. And that's something that he really can't control. I mean, he could do his best to go through therapy, rehab. He won't be right until, again, he just takes that time to heal up. And when he does heal up, he's a guy that, yes, he wasn't efficient last year in Chicago, but also that was not a team that was trying. And he was trying to at least find a way that he could play coming off that ACL tear and be an effective player. And I still think that we saw spurts and enough spurts to say with a full offseason, he'll come on and at least be able to show and has that potential to show something very special because he's a guy that can shoot from the outside. If he's able to shoot 38% as a guy that's holding the ball for 29% of the time. He had a usage of 29.5 last year. for the Bulls. If he's able to hold the ball that much, shoot 38% from three, and be a guy that drives and attacks the bucket, I mean, we see that Minnesota game where he put up over 30 points. If he's able to do that consistently, it'd be massively impressive.
That one too might have had a little emotion of I want to show up my own team. I want to show up my old team. Man.
Yeah, of course. But I think that, again, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if he's able to show that on a somewhat near consistent basis, then again, he will be worth that money. And also, your worries about the injury will not be there. Your worries aren't about the player, about the injury. And again, he might be able to take that progression because he is so young. He's 23, going to be 24 in March. He's a guy that's been in the league for 4 years and has grown. And the only reason why he didn't grow last year, at least, increasing his point total, increasing his field goal percentage, was because of his injury. So let's see how he comes back this year, because only 24 games is not enough to tell about a player. Shout out to KCP. Only 3 players stayed exactly where they were. It was James Harden, Klay Thompson, and KCP at 20. Josh Richardson's a guy that you should watch out for as well. Probably going to be in the starting lineup full time. He was a very consistent starter for the Heat last year, but at least an increase of minutes. Really impressive. Really intrigued to see what this kid can do. I want to see his 3-point percentage go up, but he seems like a really good two-way player at that two-guard position for the Heat. And shout out Evan Fournier, guy that it would be a great addition to a playoff team, putting about 18 points per game, really great shooter. Would be a nice addition to a playoff team, but he's stuck in Orlando right now. Also, shout out JJ Redick. Jake, we told him to pick where he was going to be, ended up at 13.
And like Jake said, could have almost been in Indy and would have changed Vic in a way, because maybe Vic's a 3 then and JJ's a 2, or JJ's coming off the bench.
We'll never know, and I'm glad we don't have to do it because it makes our job easier. Anyways, let us know about our rankings from 20 to 11. Who's too low? Who's too high? Let us know down in the comments below.